This evening by Emma Smallwood from Moacre Primary School. I should say Moacre Hill Primary School, get the full name right. And Emma is a Year 6 teacher and using Kahoot and Flipgrid with her class. So it'd be nice to see it from that viewpoint as well. But obviously at Moacre Hill as well, I know, Emma, that you're using it throughout the school, aren't you? There's all the way from EYFS through to Year 6. So if anyone's got any questions about that, want to know any information about sort of early years as well, please ask, and I'm sure Emma will know, or we can put you in touch with a teacher that will know. So let us know. Okay, so I'm going to pass over to you, Emma, if that's all right, and let you start.
Thank you. So I'll start off doing talking a bit about Kahoot, and then I'll switch over to Flipgrid. So starting off with Kahoot, I think Kahoot's really gained some momentum and popularity really since the lockdown. But if you're not familiar with Kahoot, it is a game-based learning platform that allows teachers to create and host quizzes. And children can join these live games using a code, or if you're in the younger years or using an iPad or a tablet, you can also scan a QR code, which will take you directly to the live game, which is great. There is an option as well to assign quizzes, sort of like a homework task, or to be done in the classroom, self-paced, so that children can work through the questions on their own. And it also removes that competitive side, because when you're doing a live game, obviously all the children are competing against each other and trying to make sure they get it right, but also get it right quickly as well. So that self-paced option, and I think sometimes people don't know as much about, is great, and it also provides that data for teachers to act upon. One of the things that we've used with this self-paced quizzes is for things like arithmetic practice, where you do want children to be able to get that instant feedback, but you also want to give children that time to answer it properly. So again, those two different ways of using Kahoot, and both have their pros and cons, but just having those two options is really good to know about. So once you log into Kahoot, you'll have, as a teacher, you can create an education account through your work email. And once you log in and you've got your account, you've got a library full of Kahoot quizzes for a range of subjects that have already been made. So there are some brands that work with Kahoot, so such as Disney, that do ones maybe for introducing it to your children that are a bit more fun, whereas there's so many, it must be thousands of pre-made Kahoots made by other teachers or people in the same boat as you who want to test their children. Let's say, for example, on the screen, I've got prepositions. Instead of making one from scratch for myself to do in my class, I know that somebody else will have made a Kahoot for prepositions, and you can use that and adapt it. So they're a fantastic starting point to find one that's already been made, but you can then duplicate that and adapt it to your children. For example, you can add teaching slides right into the Kahoot. So if you wanted to do a recap of a key learning point, or to teach directly from Kahoot as your input, you can do that as well. You can also extend the timer. You can give them from 10 seconds to 4 minutes to answer the question. You can also remove the points. So there is an option to have no points at all. So even if you got the question correct, you don't get any points, and that sort of takes that competitive element away. And you can also edit the answer options. One thing that has been mentioned before is that, does every child get the same options for their answers? And the answer is yes. So unfortunately you can't put in that bit of scaffolding for maybe having less options for different groups of children, but it's still a really good way of making sure that everyone's getting the same and you're assessing all the children. There's so many ways that you can adapt it to the children in your class, but definitely using the Discover, the library of all the ones that are already made, is a great starting point. It means that you're not doing a job that's already been done, because there's so much out there that's already been made.
And Emma, that's a good point that you've made. I suppose teachers just they'd send a different Kahoot to a group of children rather than the whole class.
Yes.
Differentiate. wouldn't they?
Definitely. And also we've done it before where we've got groups of children. So there's a group mode. So you might have, mixed attainment grouping, just to make sure that you have got that spread of children and their different attainment, or maybe ones that wouldn't be able to read it as quickly. They've got somebody there that could read the answers quickly to them, and support each other that way. Yeah, there's lots of ways around it.
Yeah.
One of the ways that I mentioned earlier was about joining Kahoot through a QR code. So if you want to do a live game with your children, you host the Kahoot and it comes up with a code or a QR code. So if you've got children with an iPad or a tablet in your classroom, they can go up to the screen, scan the QR code, and it takes them straight onto that live game. If you've assigned a Kahoot as a self-paced one, a homework task, you can also create a QR code that means children can access it whenever they want. Some examples of this, as you can see on the board, in year 1, they've created a phonics quiz and the children can come up and do that once they finish their task. So again, it's that extra bit of challenge, extra element to the lesson that is facilitated through the technology, rather than the teacher having to go and give those children extra input. It's a nice sort of revision task for them to do. The QR codes just mean they can access Kahoot directly, they can do it quickly and safely. They get straight onto the website. Children can enter their first name, which is helpful because when you're looking at the data, you do want to know which children have and haven't got it correct. We also use initials, or there is a random name generator, but again, for the data, you probably do want to know which children get it right or wrong. They don't have to use any of their details to actually log into the website, which is obviously important for GDPR, making sure that nobody's breaking any going onto websites they're not old enough for. And I think that's something that, as we're using more technology, we've just got to be very wary of. But Kahoot's nice because you do just take you straight to the game, no logging in or anything. For our older children, we send them a link on Teams rather than using QR codes because they're using laptops. And again, this takes them straight to the quiz as well. It saves that having to find the website and making sure they're on the right one, which is really good. And all these are generated by the Kahoot website immediately when you're hosting your game. So once you've started to host a live game, you can play these individually or on team mode, which I've said we've used team mode for having those mixed attainment groups. But also, if you are limited in your devices, if you do want to get everyone involved, that team mode is great because you can have groups of children working together rather than having to just do it with certain groups and leaving them out. But again, whatever you've got in your school, Kahoot can adapt to that. So again, yeah, team mode's great when you've got limited devices. So once you host your Kahoot, so for example, this one's all about area, the questions and the answers will appear on the children's devices as well as on your screen. So for example, in my classroom, I've got it on the interactive whiteboard at the front, and then all the children have got their devices on their tables, and this is what they see. So they get all the answers on their screen, and you can randomize the order of the answers so that the order of the answers won't be the same as their partners. And again, you can set the timer. So this one's got 30 seconds, however long you think your children will need to read the answers and select the correct answer. But it's really nice that they have all this on their screen, so they've got it right in front of them and they're not having to look up and down from the board to their devices. And this is quite a new feature of Kahoot. So once you've completed the Kahoot with the class, you get a summary and a report afterwards of how the children have performed. And this comes up once you've finished and you've gone off the page, so the children don't see this straight away. Again, which is nice because that data is for obviously as us, for teachers to act upon. So we've been using them as pre and post assessments. So adding a little bit of element of fun to that formative and summative assessment. And once you've finished the quiz, as you can see, you get a summary. So on the first one on the left, I can see in prepositions 40% correct. So that might be that there are certain children getting 100%, others getting none. It might be that all children are not quite getting there. But luckily, you can go onto the Players tab and you can see a breakdown of every single child that's played and every single question they got correct or incorrect. And again, you can have a breakdown of questions as well. So I'll try and put questions in there ranging in difficulty. So there's more difficult ones that you already sort of know there's only going to be certain children that might be able to access them. But again, a really detailed breakdown of how children have performed in the Kahoot. One of the great things that I've started using recently is that once you've played a Kahoot with your children, it will identify those difficult questions, and you can create a new Kahoot with using those difficult questions. So again, that's taking that step out of you having to then plan how you're going to address those misconceptions. Immediately you can go on to click that create Kahoot, and you could straight away with your class do a Kahoot with those difficult questions and work through each one to address whether it's a misconception or something new that they do need to learn to access that question, which again is really nice. It's done so quickly and you don't have to do anything to be able to have that with your class straight away. So really, really great. Again, the one on the right is for finding percentages. I could see from the data we're great at 10s, 30s, 40%, but when you've got that 5% thrown in, that's where we needed to work on it. So you can create a Kahoot with the difficult questions and address those misconceptions really quickly and easily. And again, we've used Kahoot trying to spread it across the whole curriculum. Using it as a pre-assessment for our foundation subjects. So in science, just as a way of seeing what the children do and don't understand, and that can really inform our planning. And again, there are some, with the lockdowns that we've had, we're not always sure what has been covered in certain year groups. And so I know that at the moment we're learning about the heart in science. They should have learned about the human digestive system, but year 4 they had a lockdown, so they have not covered all of that. So again, really quick, a really fun and easy way of assessing what they already know, and what we need to maybe recap just to make sure they have covered all of the curriculum that they needed to. So we'll pause there a second if Joe's got any questions about Kahoot.
I was just going to say, I really like that feature where you can take the difficult questions and make it a Kahoot very quickly.
Yeah.
But how long does it roughly take you to make a Kahoot, do you think, Emma?
I think so this year, last year I was making a lot from scratch and wanting to make them, you know, exactly what I needed for my class. But this year we're doing them most lessons for a grammar recap, and I just pick one that's already been made, adapt it, and it's probably ready with under 5 minutes. Because really what you need is already out there, because somebody else will want the same thing as you. So I've definitely found that using the Discover and adapting ones already there, it really is very quick to get them up and running.
And have you shared your Kahoots as well on
Yes.
the Discover? Yes.
Yes, and we as a school have now got our education accounts, so we can share them within our school, which again is lovely. So if you've got somebody doing you know, fractions, maybe there probably is another year group or another class within your year group that could use that as well. So again, sharing within the school has been really helpful.
Which is what I was just thinking. That's what I was just getting at. Across the trust then is the next step, really, isn't it? Yes.
Yeah.
That's it, those accounts. That's
because
brilliant.
people don't need that added workload of something that's meant to be fun and assessing children, and actually so much is out there already. And one thing we did discover just before SATs was that some people have put the whole of arithmetic and reasoning papers on Kahoot. So again, we were setting arithmetic papers self-paced for the children to do and get that instant feedback, and find out things that they needed to work on themselves rather than us doing it on a paper copy, which was really nice.
Yeah, all round really, like you say.
Yeah.
It's so efficient. It's that element, isn't it, that's the strength. That's great, Emma.
Fab. So I'm going to move on to Flipgrid now, and this is a different platform, again sticking with that blended learning, but Flipgrid is a video discussion tool that allows children to create short videos under a topic that's been created by us as teachers. Videos can be recorded on laptops or tablets, anything with a camera, and filters and text and captions can be added to the videos, as well as there being an audio only option, which I'll talk a little bit more about. You can add Flipgrid as a tab on Microsoft Teams, or you can embed Flipgrid into OneNote pages. Once the children have created their Flipgrid videos, Flipgrid itself generates QR codes for the children's videos. So if you're thinking about evidencing the videos they've made, you can print out a whole class sheet of QR codes which can be stuck into their books. So one of the reasons that we started using Flipgrid and have kept using Flipgrid is because it gives children that opportunity to speak, and in the national curriculum there is a whole section on spoken language, and we need to make sure that we're giving children that opportunity, not just in English but also in our foundation subjects in topic lessons. And Flipgrid gives children that space and time to respond to a task when they're ready, not just coming up to the front of the class and speaking. They have that time to actually think and prepare and record, and I found that it's made all of my children want to do it. And before, I know that engaging in a speaking task is quite tricky for children who are anxious or worried about standing up, whereas talking to your laptop is it's much easier for them. So it's been great to make sure that all children are able to join in with discussions and have that time to really talk about something and talk passionately really about their learning. When we were learning during lockdown, or when we've come back to school and we have children who are learning remotely, again, they can still access and engage in those speaking tasks because they can use Flipgrid on their device at home as well. And like I said, spoken language is a requirement for years 1 to 6, and Flipgrid can be used with children of all ages to achieve some of these objectives. We have our year 1 teachers who have been using Flipgrid with their children as part of their writing process. So if they're taught for writing, at the start of their writing, they're recording themselves reading out their text map. And again, then they've got that recording to refer back to, and any tricky words that they might not remember, they've got a recording right there of themselves reading it out. So it's a really powerful tool we found, even with our youngest children right up to year 6. Children can record video comments or write comments to each other's videos as well, which again, then they can engage in like peer review of their videos, or sometimes they might pose questions in their videos and other children will watch and then respond back. So it's a really nice tool to use, not just getting the children to record and then me watching it, they can watch each other's, or even we trialed it with my class recording things and then the other class recording things back to them. So again, it's that engaging with other children. And you could even go so far as to, could you have different year groups engaging through this, or classes in different schools engaging with each other through this as well. So it's a really, really easy tool to use. And like I said, our year 1s are using it all the way up to our older children as well.
Emma, sorry, can I just ask, do they use it for reading at all as well?
We were mainly using the reading progress tool, but I think mainly our focus for Flipgrid has been for our foundation subjects and for English for that taught for writing so far.
Yeah, no, that's great, thank you.
So once you, as an adult, you create your own account, you get your educator dashboard, and you can create your year group. And within that group, then you create topics. So I think it's just getting used to the different language. So you have a group and then you have topics within your group. So these can be questions or prompts for the children to respond to. So for example, we had children doing Attenborough commentary, which was quite nice, and get them an opportunity to put on a voice and really act out their commentary they've written about an animal. We've also had poetry performances, and we've also had the chance for children to pick a paragraph from their narrative and read it out and explain why it was their favourite paragraph that they wrote. So we've had a few different things this year that we've used as prompts for our Flipgrid videos. So when the children want to access Flipgrid, the easiest way that we found is to embed it as a tab on our Teams channel. So at the top, you can see that we've got Flipgrid. Once they click on that, it comes up telling them that they're on the correct Flipgrid and they need to have a password. So we provide them with a password, and it'll be something linked. So for example, this is a computing task. It would be something relating to that task, easy for them to remember. That just means that they don't have to have an account to log in. They're not creating an account to log in. They're just accessing it through this password we've given them. And they can put their name on their video at the end, but they've not had to use any details to actually log into the Flipgrid site. So once they are on the Flipgrid, You can add like a detailed prompt if you want. So for example, for my year sixes, I've written quite a detailed prompt for them of what they need to do for the task. Our year one teachers make fantastic videos, so the children go on and the task is explained to them by their teacher. Again, you can add a little picture if you wanted to, or a GIF, something to entice them in. But this is what it will look like for the children. And they've got the big blue button that says add response. And again, whatever's right for your children, whether they need detailed written prompt, or whether if they're a bit younger, they need that video to remind them what exactly they need to do. So once the children go on to record, they get a screen like this, and this is just showing the microphone only option. So again, there might be children who don't want to be filmed and they don't like being on camera, maybe for other cultural, religious reasons they can't be filmed. So this is a good option where they can just record their voice. There is an option for them to record their screen as well. So in the previous slide, this task was to showcase their computing work, and they needed to share their screen to show a spreadsheet that they've made and then talk it through and then give a bit of pupil voice at the end of how they'd enjoyed doing this task. So on the recording screen at the bottom, you can see that there's you can have different effects. You can put a backdrop. There are lots of ways that they can personalize it and make it their own. And just as a quick example, this particular Flipgrid, the prompt was to explain how a creature had adapted to their habitat, and the children responded to this with their own video explaining adaptation in their own words and then given their own examples that they had researched. The filters and the effects can just be added to express creativity, and it's really nice actually them adding their little personal touch to it. So that's just an example of one of the girls in my class and how she'd added pictures of the animals she was talking about, and she'd added some lovely ocean music as well. But it's really nice to be able to go back to these videos across the year as well, and then you've got that build up of evidence of how they, you know, that spoken language at the start of the year and how they've developed throughout the year. And for me, I've used it across the curriculum, but for certain children where writing is quite onerous or writing is that barrier to being able to complete the work, Flipgrid gives them that opportunity to actually complete the work without having that writing element, and they've still, you know, completed all the tasks, they've explained everything they need to, but they've also not had to write down a detailed response like other children might have. So again, it's a nice way to make the curriculum accessible and make sure that everyone can achieve those high outcomes that we want. And I think that brings me to the end of my tour of Flipgrid.
That's brilliant. Thanks, Emma. That's very compact, but everything's there, you know, and that's what I like about both of those, Kahoot and Flipgrid. They're so easy to use, aren't they?
Definitely, yeah.
I think you just register, you set up your accounts and you're away. And as you mentioned as well, you don't have to use the pupils' data.
Yeah.
It thinks about there's elements of it where you can think about the GDPR and just use it. So you're using the code, or you're just using it within Teams. And again, they combine nicely with that, don't they? Are there any other tips that you would give people around Flipgrid? Anything that you found that, you know, either those kind of quick tips that you think don't do that, you know, these are the errors I made, but you know, learn from this, as it were?
Yeah, I think when I first started using it last year, I did start it off with a group, and I think if you are worried about it being successful for a whole class, starting off with a group, so maybe that might be some of the children who need more support, or whether it's those children that you actually want to challenge and having a reasoning task or something for them to do. So starting it off with a little group was really helpful, and then they then became the experts and they were then able to support other children when we did introduce it as a whole class, which again was really nice because it takes the pressure off you as the adult having to know how to do everything. If you've already had a group who have used it confidently, they can then help others. So that's definitely a tip of getting into it. One of the other things when using it in year 1 and year 3 in particular, their children are quite happy in a room of 30 to just read to their computer. They're not bothered about what's going on behind them, whereas in year 6, we found that children don't always feel as comfortable talking in front of others or talking in a loud room. So when we've planned it in, we've planned for the videos to maybe be a small group is taken at the end of every day for a week. So I know that if I wanted them to perform a piece of poetry, I've actually got a group of 6 going out every day for a week, and it will be finished by the Friday, and just using the hall or the corridors somewhere quiet for them to do. So again, planning that into your lessons, if you know that children aren't going to be able to do it in the classroom, that's quite helpful to know in advance. And again, things like headphones really help. Just so children can hear themselves and it picks up their voice a bit better is definitely a plus if you have got them. But yeah, I think you've got to sort of just dive in and have a go and see what the children enjoy and see what they can produce from it and see what's helpful for your class. I think we found it really helpful for writing, so children can hear themselves reading their work. But I've also seen other people use it really well for pupil voice and children being able to talk about what they've enjoyed in their learning, and actually using it that way as more of a reflection.
I was just going to say reflecting on their learning. That's right.
Yeah.
At the end, yes, really good way of reflecting.
Definitely.
But as you say, versatile. I just love the way you can take the QR codes and also put them either on a display board or in the book as well as evidence.
And it's great that it just produces that as a class set for you to download straight away, because again, thinking of workload, you want something that's going to be able to be done straight away, which is another really great thing.
Yeah, no, definitely. And also I found out the other day, I think someone was asking me, can you download the video clips too?
Yeah.
Sometimes you just think, oh no, it's embedded in Flipgrid, that's it. But you can actually take the videos out as well, can't you, and download. Yeah, if you
and it's lovely for them to be able to take home, let's say they take home the QR code, then their parents can watch it, and it's that nice sort of bridge between home and school, for them to be able to see what their children have been doing in class.
Yeah, no, definitely. Thank you so much for sharing that. What I'm going to do is just go through the the courses that you can access Flipgrid on. So I'm just going to share those very briefly now. So let me just share my screen. So it's nice because Emma's obviously shared what you can do in the classroom with it and what that looks like. I'm just going to share, as you can see here, very poorly, apologies. And I'm just thinking about it. I don't think I've shared sound either. So I'm just going to come out and try again, because you just might want the sound on these. So there we go. Very quickly just show you these slides, just to help you to know where to go if you're not sure about Flipgrid and you want a little bit more support. At the end, I will give you mine and Emma's email address. So just in case you did want to talk to us afterwards, you want more information, or just to be shown how to use it or set it up, we're happy to talk to you. So the email address will be at the end of this slideshow. But you can see I put the link on as well for the Flipgrid. So Microsoft also have Microsoft Learn. This is the platform that helps you to access training courses and gives you information. So there's a specific area on Learn here that you can go to and access all the information about Flipgrid that you want to. And you can see there, these are the modules that they've also set up around Flipgrid. Again, very informative, and just helps you to think about how you might embed it and use it with your class and in your classroom setting. I put Kahoot there as well, but this is mainly about Flipgrid, this section. They've also got their own YouTube channel as well, so with video clips that you can watch about it. So if you're not sure about the how-to side of things, then you can go and access these video clips here. They've again show you all those quick tips that you need to know when you are setting up and using it, especially when you want to link it with Teams too, or Google Classroom if you're a Google School. So this is setting it up. This is where you would sign up. You just click on that and then just follow the instructions, set up your educator site. And there's just a quick video clip here of what that looks like when you're getting started, which I'll just play. It's just about a minute.
Want to get started with Flipgrid? It's simple, and we're here to support you. First, create a group. Just name it and add your students to it. Type in your domain name, that's everything after the @ symbol in your email, or connect your Google Classroom. Select Create Group and step 1 is done. To make it even easier to get discussions started, there's a default introductions topic in every group. Topics are the prompts that learners respond to. Invite your students to participate by sharing your group. Simply select Share and copy the link. You can share the link anywhere, like email, Microsoft Teams, or Google Classroom. You can even share the group as a QR code for learners to scan. That's all it takes to get started on Flipgrid. Now, just wait for the discussions to take off. In the meantime, explore all of our Flipgrid tools, like our ready-to-use topics or the Flipgrid camera, to help you spark great discussion. You've got this. You are amazing, and we're so honored you're using Flipgrid to empower every voice. Want to see what things look like for your students? Check out this video. And for specific questions, our Help Center has you covered. Let's start learning together.
So hopefully that just gives you an idea that there is a lot of help out there to access if you're not sure about Flipgrid. But as Emma said, it's a great tool to use. It's really good for assessment of spoken language. Because often that is something that is quite hard to evidence, but this tool really supports that. And then there's teaching with Kahoot as well. So this Kahoot isn't linked to the Microsoft Learn Center so much, but Microsoft have linked with Kahoot. So again, you can embed Kahoots into your Teams area too. And you can see here, again, it's great for assessment, but if you go onto their website, you will see there's lots of tabs here that you can access to just inform you of how to learn with Kahoot. And again, on YouTube, there's a lot of clips you can access to. Kahoot is free. You do get a basic free starting up account, but a lot of schools do pay for either Kahoot Pro or Kahoot Premium. And there's something called Kahoot Edu now as well, which gives you access to far more tools. So if you are interested in being able to access a little bit more, then that is possible. And I know, Emma, I think your school subscribed to, is it the Kahoot Pro?
Yes, I think so.
So that just gives you a little bit more, I suppose, options to adapt the Kahoot, add more images. Is that right?
Yes. And there's you can not just multiple choice. You can have typing in your answers, ordering answers. There's just different ways to respond.
Yeah. So again, the more you pay, obviously, for anything, the more tools you get access to. But as I say, the free account works just as well, especially if you're just starting up. This is just an overview of what your account would look like. So you get your home page, you can access all the Kahoots that you've made from here. The Discover button that Emma was mentioning earlier, this is where you'd find everybody else's Kahoots. You could discover others that you can use and replicate. And then the reports as well, you'd access. So any Kahoots that your class had actually finished, completed, then you get the reports and you'll be able to download the Excel spreadsheet about those reports afterwards. So everything's there. The Create button is where you start to create your own Kahoots as well, if you do want to create them from scratch as well. So easy to manipulate, but also they are bringing out new things all the time as well. They are linking with different things. But this quick video clip just talks about the new Kahoot Edu account that you can have. That's obviously a very quick overview there of the Edu, but that's if you're in a trust, that's worth investigating, because that obviously can reduce the price of accessing that account if your whole, all the teachers in your trust are interested in that. And as I said, these are the email addresses of well, mine and Emma's email address here that you can access. Apologies, we've got an after-school club that's just come in. But luckily we've just about finished our webinar anyway this evening, so I'm just going to stop sharing there. Emma, is there anything you want to add to that this evening?
No, I don't think so. Just have a go.
I think you're absolutely right. That's exactly it, isn't it? It's just give it a go. And as you mentioned as well, with small groups to start with. So
Definitely.
I think small groups are really a good place to start, and then go full class.
Yeah.
And talk to colleagues about it as well. Practice with colleagues before you actually go and use it, probably with the children too. Just give it a try. But yeah, if there's any questions, please pop them into the chat bar. Otherwise, I will end the meeting there. As I say, if you do want to contact Emma or I about Flipgrid or Kahoot, then please do so via email, and enjoy the rest of the evening. And thanks, Emma. Thanks for presenting.